Hello guys, welcome back to another topic, sleep, dreaming and circadian rhythms. I would say this is one of the most important topics in whole of your psychiatry or psychology curriculum. The reason being that every disorder which is related with brain, it it leaves its impression on the sleep, okay? Most of the disorders, they accompany sleep disturbances, and once the patient gets better, whether it's due to therapy, whether it's due to medication, first you see that person tells you that my sleep has also improved. So sleep is part and parcel of any psychiatric or psychological disorder that we encounter, okay? Dreaming is another important topic. We are confused why we dream, whatever we the anxious people, they see the very negative states in the dream. So there is a lot of thing hovering around in the brain for the dreams. Just that for your exam point of view, sleep that we will be discussing will be most important, but dreams, they don't usually ask questions, okay? Then will be the circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms is another very important topic, because if you don't understand circadian rhythms, okay, then understanding of sleep, how the person is sleeping and how the person is waking up, that will not develop, okay? And understand, to develop understanding is the most important thing that you can take away from these classes, okay? We'll be doing like we have done in all the classes. We'll start from the very basic and then we'll build upon that, okay? So let's begin with sleep. Let's first see what we have to see in sleep. In sleep, we will understand what is sleep, stages of sleep, and EEG changes of sleep. Okay. You get one question from EEG changes. They ask you which kind of wave will be seen in which kind of activity if the person is doing. Then you get one question from stages. One question from stages. In stages also, you have to remember the characteristic feature of every stage, okay? And that will suffice. Then we will, after this, we will see certain disorders, okay? Only the names we will be seeing. Disorders, the main part we will be discussing later after we have completed the circadian rhythms. But here we will be seeing that certain disorders fall into REM classification, certain under NREM classification, okay? We will see that. Fine. So on that note, I like to begin the topic, okay? So what is sleep? So your books have told that sleep is a fundamental biological function. They occupy we occupy a significant proportion of our lives sleeping, okay? It is said that humans sleep 1/3 of their lives, approximately 1,75,000 hours we spend sleeping, okay? And the sleep is characterized by distinct physiological changes, okay? Many physiological changes also takes place in the body. So if someone asks you what is sleep, so you have to remember that it is a fundamental biological function. But then why are we saying it's a biological function? Because sleep and wakefulness, it is a interplay of what? It is an interplay of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. So we understand that there are certain chemicals in the brain, okay, which have certain specific functions, which are called neurotransmitters, okay? Chemicals which have certain specific functions are neurotransmitters. So there are certain chemicals which will make us sleep, and there are certain neurochemicals which will make us awake. So wake and sleep, these are two distinct functions of the body, biological functions. Certain chemicals which will make us awake, certain chemicals which will promote sleep, okay? And depending upon their levels, if my sleeping chemicals are more than my wakefulness chemicals, okay, then it is what? Then the person will go into sleep or slumber, okay? But then if my chemicals which help me wake up, they are more, then my sleep activity will be reduced and my waking up activity will be increased. And because it's an interplay of these neurotransmitters or these chemicals, we have defined sleep as a biological function. Okay, we have told that it occupies significant portion of our lives. I've already told you that we spend around 1/3 of our lives sleeping. A figure has been told, nearly 1,75,000 hours. Okay, 1,75,000 hours. You need not remember this, need not remember this. Okay, it's just for your understanding. Fine. Then it is said that it is characterized by distinct physiological changes. You have to understand one thing here. Okay, what happens in sleep? In sleep, we have a thing known as perceptual disengagement. Okay. At the outset, looks a bit difficult. Perceptual disengagement. If we break down the word, so perceptual means perception. Disengagement means the body will not be able to take any perceptions. So no perceptions. So body is in a state where it is not entertaining any perception. Perception like no visual perception, no auditory perception, no other senses perception. Okay, no perception body is taking. So body is in a state of what? Body is in a state of perceptual disengagement. So we are unable to hear or see. Okay, basically we are in a state of perception loss. Okay, but then you have to know that this perception loss or perceptual disengagement occurs in coma as well. If a person is in coma, then also he is not able to hear, is not able to see. And if we are in sleep, then also we are not able to hear, sleep, or any other perception. Then what is the major difference? So major difference is that these physiological changes, these are reversible. Reversible. So sleep is a reversible feature of the brain, whereas coma is not reversible to a major extent. It is not reversible. Okay. Okay. So you have to understand the perceptual disengagement. This word is important. If they ask you what is the physiological change that we talk about, see, when I am talking to you or you are listening, so your auditory, visual, all the senses are active. Whereas when we sleep, our auditory, visual, etc., all the senses of the body, they slow down. They go in a state which is almost zero. But if someone wakes up from this sleep, again these senses come back. So that is why we are saying that it is a reversible state of the body. Okay. So if someone asks you what is sleep, sleep is a fundamental biological function. Why biological? Due to interplay of neurotransmitters, occupies a significant proportion of our lives, and it is characterized by distinct physiological changes. What kind of physiological changes I'm talking about? Reversible physiological changes. Especially what? Perceptual disengagement. Take the keywords from here, okay? Fine. So there is second thing that we need to talk about. What about the sleep architecture over lifetime? How does our sleep architecture changes as we grow? Okay. First, let's understand when we are in utero. In utero means when we are in the mother's womb. How much do we sleep? Okay. When we are born, how much do we sleep? When we are adolescent, then how much are our activity levels and sleep levels? Adult and elderly. What is your basic understanding? Tell me. So, in this state, when the baby is in the womb of the mother, or it is just born, so sleep time is very high. Okay, a baby can sleep up to 23 hours a day as well. Okay, so sleep time is very high. In adolescent, the sleep time is lesser, but yet we can sleep a lot. In adults, it becomes further lesser. Okay, but in elderly, you have seen your grandparents or you have seen the elderly people. What happens to them is they sleep at 8 or 9 p.m. and then they wake up at 2 3 p.m. or they sleep for a very short period of time. Okay, their brain chemical changes are such that the sleep reduces. Okay, so if they ask you a general rule is that, first general rule you have to remember that as we grow, our sleep decreases. Okay, in uterine we sleep the most. Okay, we will understand that sleep is of two types, REM and non-REM. Do not worry here. In the next few slides, we will understand. Okay, sleep is of two types, REM and non-REM. What happens is, REM sleep is the deeper sleep. NREM is the, I would say, a more superficial sleep. Okay. So when we grow, as we age, okay, both these sleeps decrease. REM and NREM both decrease, but REM decreases more than NREM. Okay. So what happens is the person is not able to go into the deeper forms of the sleep. And that is why with age, the most important complaints most elderly tell us is that if I sleep also, I do not feel fresh. The quality of sleep was not good. Why was the quality of sleep not good? Because they were not able to go into the REM sleep, the deeper sleep, okay, where the body feels relaxed. They were not able to go into that sleep. Okay. So you have to understand that as we age, the sleep decreases. Okay. And in that also, the REM sleep will decrease more than the non-REM sleep. Okay. Fine. So if you ask me, if we take age here, time of sleep here. Okay. So when we are in utero, we sleep a lot. Okay. And when we are baby, we are also sleeping a lot. But as we grow, the time of the sleep decreases. The time of the sleep decreases. Okay. Let's say death over here. So at one point we were sleeping 22, 24 hours a day. But at elderly age, we are sleeping only, let's say, 4 hours a day. So the time of the sleep decreases. So total time in wakefulness increases. Why I'm specifying is because you have to understand, when elderly people will come to you, they will invariably they will complain that my sleep is not good. So you have to understand that it is always not pathological. It is physiological change. Okay. It is physiological change. You have to make that out. Okay. And sleep quantity as well as quality is disturbed. Quantity as well as quality is disturbed. So if you have to work on that, you have to work on both the aspects. It is not that you have to work only on the quantity of the sleep. Okay. So I hope that you have understood this slide.